This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's just after lunch. Some of us are still snacking away at leftovers on this nice, balmy winter's afternoon. It's a beautiful day. Can't wait. Thank you for joining us on this virtual live safari. So welcome everyone. You are looking at one of our very favorite individuals on our whole of Pride lands. It's a warthog, not just any warthog. This is Linda, named unfortunately missing one of her ears. Has stopped her healthy lady. Welcome to Pride Lands Conservancy. My name's Mike Anderson, and behind the camera is Gerrit, and we are excited about this afternoon to show you whatever we can find. As you can see, it's nice and sunny. It's a little bit breezy, nice and cool, the wind actually, and we are going to be watching these warthogs for a while to see just exactly what they're going to do over the next few minutes. It's wonderful to see them so relaxed. Quite often, they run away from us. She doesn't run away from us, though. She is one of the warthogs which is often frequenting our camp, and although we don't feed her, she likes the water that runs off from our shower area, makes the grasses nice and green, and so she's always hanging around our camp, and she's become quite friendly with us. Sassy Kathy, we love warthogs too. They are so comical. I mean, they've got these like short little legs and these big snouts, and you know, people always say they're part of the ugly. I don't really get, because I think they actually look really cute. I think they've got like a cute ugliness. She's down on her knees so that she can reach the ground easier, because she's got a weirdly shaped head, as you can see, with this flat snout that she uses to snuffle up the grasses and the little shoots, which she's doing with great effect over there. So we're going to see what she does over the next few minutes as she snuffles away over there. And for now, we're going to send you to Nyala to say hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NBO Nyala. My name is Bunny. I am with Owen, my cameraman for the day. We have just left camp about a few minutes ago. So we were driving parallel to the Timbavati riverbed, which is very well known for staying dry. Come across this one, and the only paddle in the water, in the riverbed, with a little bit of water. And just to find this head of elephants. That's unfortunately, they're there, they're busy digging on the water in the sand itself. And if you look slightly back, there is a little bit more water there where you will think that they will carry on drinking in that water. But these elephants are very well known for being fussy about the type of water that they drink. So the water that's on the surface behind them is full of algae, and that's why that's not their favorite water to drink. So being an elephant and being as smart as they are, they have, since then, you can see some of them, you can only see half the bodies and half the trunks. They've been digging in this sand using their front feet with their trunks. As you can see, that female is busy drinking now. And you can see the water dripping off her mouth. So she has successfully managed to find a little bit of water to drink there. So this water that they have now, that's filtering through the sand, is possibly some of the cleanest water you can find out here. And majority of them, as they stand around, they're all drinking. It's a whole family group, adult females with their previous offspring, all busy drinking at the moment. Very nice to actually come across elephants in an early afternoon like this, on a day like today. It got a little bit warm during the day. So with these elephants, for the last few days, we've looked around, searched around. There haven't been so many elephants. So when elephants do come around, they come in waves. every now and again. Sometimes they're all gone, sometimes they're all back. We're going to stick with this herd for a little longer, see what they're going to do, which direction they're going to take once they're done drinking here. But it looks like they're still going to be drinking here for a while, so we're staying with them.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. We are sitting here. I think a tree just lost its life there. An elephant just pushed over a tree. This is happening live right in front of us, and my name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera. There's a whole herd, adults, youngsters, teenagers, and they're feeding. So we can actually take a listen and hear them crunching. Caitlin, you're 14 years old and you are asking, do elephants suffer from arthritis? Caitlin, not that I'm aware of. Now, arthritis is normally when, there's different types, but it's normally when the cartilage, the shock absorbers, wears away from your joints, and that means that bone grinds on bone. So it gives a lot of pain. Of course, humans can suffer from it. My old dog suffered from it, and it can be very painful when moving. I'm not aware that elephants can suffer from arthritis. They're all coming towards us. This is incredible. This female's walking right towards us. Hello, mama. How incredible is this? The whole herd, now they know we're here. They can hear us, they can see us, they can smell us. Now just keep talking. What is this? There's a mama here with a baby. It's a small baby. Excuse the antenna, that's the back of our vehicle. But I don't want to turn the vehicle on right now and give them a fright. It's not a good idea. Dove. I think I've actually seen a fairly newborn elephant. They're very small. They don't walk very well. They've not got good coordination. They can't control their trunk. They haven't really learned how to flap their ears. And they come in at about 100 kilograms, which would be around 220 pounds, I think. Very, very small. And you can tell by the mother's behavior, the way that she's behaving with the young, that is very, very youngster. So I think I've seen a youngster at a few weeks old. I was very, very lucky to experience that, Dove. Now, elephants get a little bit more stressed in winter because the food is scarce. They've had to change their diet. They've had to adapt. Normally, water is not always available. The elephant. There's another youngster, Davi. How exciting. This herd has got a lot of youngsters. A very relaxed young female here. See that? It's having a smell, putting its trunk up. They're highly olfactory. It's just trying to smell us. They can see us. They can hear me talking. They also want to smell. What are these two strange creatures sitting on this vehicle? They smell funky. They're very, very calm. We're not a threat. We're not turning on the vehicle and racing into them and making lots of noise. Now, because they're behind the car at the minute, I don't want to move. I don't want to turn the car on. I'm just going to give them a little bit of space, let them get further ahead, and then we will reposition and see if we can catch up with this herd. They've already had a drink because we heard them drinking earlier. This is a large, large herd. It could be two separate herds that are related to one another. That's also possible. Related herds like to stay in contact. So they're separate. They'll have separate matriarchs, but they do like to spend time with one another. But if they're not related, then herds of elephants do normally avoid one another. They are social animals. Other than the males, other than the bulls, you won't really find them on their own. Another youngster. Now, I know we've not got the best views. I'm just going to check behind me. Yeah, I'm not going to turn the engine on just yet. With elephants, you've got to read their body language, watch them very, very carefully and make the correct decisions. You don't want to give them a fright. You don't want to give any animal a fright. That youngster's very cute. The youngsters never stay far away from the adults. They try to stay as close to mama as possible. But then all the other adults in the herd will also protect the young. All the females, sisters, aunts, cousins, second cousins, they will all protect the young. They're all staring at us, making sure it's safe to proceed. Welcome back live, everyone. We're sitting here with the same elephant herd from earlier. We've not moved. I didn't want to turn the engine on just in case we give them a fright, but they're walking past us, so that's absolutely fine. Once they get a little bit up ahead, we're going to try and catch up with them and see how far they go. Now, please do send in your comments and questions using the hashtag WildEarth. We really want to hear from you. Okay, I think it's safe now to turn the car, so that's exactly what we're going to do to try and keep up with this herd.
See, most of these elephants have already had their drink, and they're starting to head up, but there's still a few left behind. Look at that young one. It looks like the hole is gone. It's like the hole that's a little bit too deep, and now to be able to reach with the trunk and get the water has to be on her knees. But unfortunately, he just got bullied out of that by a much bigger bull who looks like it will be anything between 15 and 20, who is still with the head. Look at him going down into his knees as well. That must be a deep hole for a bull his size to have to go into his knees to reach. Must be a nice deep hole, but looks like it's got a lot of water. He didn't really have the patience. He only took one scoop and now off he goes. Out of all of this one, it looks like it's the biggest one. Majority of the bigger ones have gone across the riverbed. Some females and babies. It looks like it's just literally that brother that bullies everybody else around that's left behind with him. Majority of these individuals that he has here with him looks like they're also young males. Veronica, in this area we don't, and one of the reasons why we don't do it is because elephant has got a much more bigger area to roam around. They've got roam distances of about 3 million hectares. And these herds were part of the Greater Kruger National Park, and some of these herds you don't know if you've ever seen them before, unless there's a specific individual with either a broken tusk or a notch on the ear that you can be able to recognize them. So these elephants now, I don't know if I've actually seen these elephants before, because the population of the elephants in the Greater Kruger National Park is between 16 and 18,000 elephants. So that's such a big figure that it makes it so difficult for us to be able to keep tabs like that, in particular because if they don't have any distinct marking like a notch on the ear, a broken tusk, which some of them will have broken tusk, but they might look similar to the one you've seen last week, and you can easily make that mistake. However, every now and again, if you find individuals, like there is a project in the Timbavati of following elephants just for research purposes, you sometimes find that those particular herds, because they can recognize the alpha female with a collar and stuff like that, then they can be given a reference name like we do with the pride. But that's not something that we often do down here at Ngara. So look at how close. Veronica, not similar to leopards that we will talk about their markings as their spots, but one thing that could be similar from become a marking for an elephant that we might use for a leopard to identify is if a leopard has got an old scar either on the ear or on the forehead, or the way the tusks are deformed, maybe slightly to the right or facing straight down, or having such a distinct tusk shape and big that you can be able to recognize them with. Other than all those three little things that some of them will change throughout their life because the scars can become bigger or they can be made worse. Other than those tiny little things I just mentioned, they don't. They all look exactly the same. You just differentiate them with the size, which was what making it difficult to be able to identify them. And also, unlike lions that are quite territorial, that spend so much time in specific areas that you end up getting to know them, elephants don't have territories. They've got what we call home ranges, which is an area that they don't defend, and that area doesn't have to be small. They can roam from the northern of the Greater Kruger National Park all the way to the Timbavati side, and. So they don't have those markings. Look at how closely those three elephants are standing there. All of them, it looks like there's a little bit of a competition going on in dipping the trunk on the same hole every now and again. I'm surprised they haven't had a little bit of a squabble, one feeling that the other one is drinking more. But it looks like they all had their fair share. And the middle one looks like slowly but surely he's going to be giving up on the idea of drinking. He's starting to move. Look at how he's moving his front feet like he's trying to feel on the ground. That's a lot of water that this one is wasted after hard work of digging. So he must have had enough for the day already. Look at him walking uphill there on that nice sandy area. It looks like the weight of his body with elephants, both male and female will have tusks. So tusk is something genetic that they all get, and it doesn't really give you, it is not because of the age and how it grows, but in most cases, male elephants, once they're big enough, anything between 25 and 30, because they often use their tusks to fight as well, as much as they also use them for feeding, their tusks tend to become a little bit more thick and much more heavier. So sometimes from a far off distance, you can see an animal with tusks like that, and you can assume that it's a male, but it's not always the case. Look at how that bull has gone onto the wall like that. His body looks like it's heavier on him. As he goes up, it looks like he's just adding a little bit more effort to be able to climb up that steep bank as he moved away from the water. Now he disappears into the tree line where it will get him into a nice shady spot where if he's starting to feel the heat, he's possibly gonna start grazing as he gets towards the wall and maybe stick around for these little boys because that is the biggest one of the three that were left behind. So we're gonna sit a little bit more here and see if the others follow him. You'll say, I will stay with them.
Good afternoon from another stunning day at Tswalu Kalahari. Old Jean-Ray and myself, Dylan, as always, we're not going anywhere. It's great having you with us. It's just beautiful out here today. While we came down to this road, we're actually heading out far west. I've got no particular plan, but while we're heading out here, we got to this road junction, and sort of something caught our eye a little bit closer to the vehicle, and then I just started following it back. I'm going to show you what it is now, but it came from this direction. Okay, tiny little tracks, crossed over here, there, crossed over there. So you can see there's been a number of vehicle tracks over it, crossed along here, crossed along here, going, moved across, and then these are the tracks here that you can actually see very, very clearly. I'm just going to kneel down, and I don't know what the angle is going to be like, if you can actually see it nicely or not, but I'll give you a hint here. It's got 3 lobes at the back, and I'll put a little Leatherman next to it just so you can get an idea of the scale. I'm just going to turn this radio off. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Stay right with me. There we go. Okay. So it's got these 3 lobes at the back. It's created a little scuff mark in the front over here, but remember the sand is incredibly soft over here. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. What we're looking at is from there to there. So you can see it's very small, but those 3 lobes at the back are a very, very good indication that this is a cat. Okay. It's quite round, especially that's a hind track over there. This one over here is actually a front track. It's broader. Has anyone got any ideas? I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is now, but if anyone's got any ideas, it's not a leopard, it's not a lion, and it's not a cheetah. Okay, Fox says a fox or a small cat. Okay, it's definitely not a fox. It is a small cat though. I want to know which small cat is this. These are actually very, very nice tracks. Doug says a caracal. You are spot on. These are caracal tracks, and actually particularly nice examples of a caracal track. So it came from that direction all along the path across here. You can see there's actually been quite a few vehicles over it. So this was probably during the course of last night, and it actually carried on going straight underneath the vehicle and then out heading south. The chance of being able to follow up on this cat now, though, incredibly difficult to track, especially on harder ground. It's easy here where the road is soft, but on harder ground it'll be very, very difficult to track. So I think we'll just give it a skip on this one, because my skills are nowhere close to that.
So we've got another carnivore here that's about the same size as a caracal. This is a baby spotted hyena. We are currently sitting at a den here at Pridelands, and we've got 2 youngsters. One is just hidden away from us. This one's just having a bit of a bath. Sometimes you've just got to get into those hard-to-reach places. So there are... It's very difficult to tell if this is a male or a female, to be honest. Both the sexes have very similar looking privates, shall we say. Reproductive organs. This one's just having a bit of a clean. Oh. Sorry. Cool. I wouldn't do that if I was you. This is so odd. I've never seen this kind of thing before. So this youngster here it's difficult to say, but you can see its paws are still quite dark. It's a spotted hyena, so the rest of the body is got lots of spots on it. But this one is still growing, so at about 3 months they start losing those dark paws and they start getting the spots. If you have questions about any of the things that we see here, please don't hesitate to send them to for the kids, it's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And for everyone else, just hashtag Wild Earth on Twitter. Very, very important. We love to answer all your questions, especially about the cute animals like this. Oh, just giving us one look back before it joins its sibling in the bushes where we couldn't really see it anymore. It's a bit shady over there. I'm sure the den it gets quite boring after a while, so they don't want to stay at it too much. They might leave this den soon, to be honest. It's in the lovely shade of this marula trees that we can see in the shot, but they've been here for quite a while. There we can just see one over there. So while we see if these hyenas come back out into the open for us, we'll like to send you over to Pinder with a crash of rhinos.
Well, a crash of rhino indeed it is. Good afternoon. Welcome to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera again is Marcel, as per usual. And yeah, we have found a crash of rhinos here, and we've come out to this big, beautiful open grassland, which is somewhere where we spend quite a bit of time on these safaris. And first thing we've managed to find was this crash of rhinos. Now, what's really interesting, I think, is that there are 5 different rhinos here. There's one really, really big one in the middle. Second from the right. Probably that one's calf just to the right of that, the smallest one. And then the other 3 on the left. Ava, what an awesome question. Why do I love animals so much? I think just being out in the open here, breathing in fresh air every day, seeing the sunrise and sunset every day makes our job really, really amazing. And then the added bonus on top of that is all the different animals, and not only the big mammals like these rhinos, but down to the birds and the insects and and everything about being out here. You're just always learning something new, and the animals is actually just one part of the job. There's so much more that goes into it, and yeah, it's just a really fantastic place. Rhinos, though, I just think they're so incredible because of how endangered they are, and because of how prehistoric they look, and yeah, just so much about them. While these rhinos carry on moving off and feeding on this grass, we're going to carry on for our drive. Let's see what we can find this afternoon.
We've been having the most magical moments with these elephants. They're right in front of us, and a young mother, a young cow, and her calf. We're very interested in the calf. Oh, a big cow. This is an older cow. It's not easy to tell the sex of elephants. It can be really, really tricky. But one of the key things to look for is mammary glands, and the second is the forehead. Females have a much angular forehead. It's almost like 90 degrees. It's very sharp, and the males are rounded. They're feeding all around us. Up here, Dobby, we've got a fork-tailed drongo. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Where about?
Up here. Oh, it's just bombed down. The fork-tailed drongos are bombing the elephants. It's incredible. Small black birds. Sophia, you are asking what do elephants use their tusks for? Well, many things. But not all elephants have tusks. You will find tuskless elephants, but generally speaking, they use them when feeding. They will strip bark off of trees, and in order to get that bark off, they use their tusk and they pull. They also use their tusk to dig into the ground as if there's anything they want that may be underground. They can use it for self-protection. That's their weapons. That's how they can protect themselves, Sophia. And also, males will clash tusks in battle. It's very, very common for males, once they get a little bit older and they start to leave the herd, they become very boisterous teenagers and they will clash tusks. They will use them to fight. So they can use them for many, many reasons. We are surrounded. Freed, you're asking, are elephants territorial? And no, they're not. Elephants are not territorial at all. Having a territory is not a priority for elephants. They wander great distances. They always stay with their herd. They stay with one another. Can you hear that? Unless you're a male. Unless you've been ousted from the herd, you will stay with the herd and you will move. I'm not sure what this youngster's doing. But yes, they're not territorial. They move from water point to water point and food source to food source. They don't mark their territory, scent mark or call. The most important thing to elephants is not having an area that they call theirs. It's the herd. It's the herd life. That's the most important thing. And Jackie, you're asking what's the biggest herd of elephants I've ever seen? Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm not entirely sure I've counted, but I did see very, very large herds in the Masai Mara. I think about 50 individuals. But one of the greatest gatherings of elephants that you can see is in Chad, a country in Africa, north of us, and masses of elephants all gathered together in this special national park, up to the thousands. But I think 50 is maybe the highest number that I've ever seen. Oh, no accident's going to happen. Oh. The mother's going to do the toilet on its youngster. But elephant dung is really, really important. I think when these elephants walk off, we're going to go and take a closer inspection of this dung. It's really important to the ecosystem out here. It's mainly vegetation. It's all vegetation that's not been properly digested. Okay, let's see if we can get a little bit closer. When you're with elephants, you must always check around you to ensure that by turning on your engine, you're not going to scare any of them. Okay, we're good. Okay, I'm going to take a closer look at this elephant dung, and you guys are going to go back across to Dylan.
Yeah, we're just looking around for any cats now. Those caracal tracks actually crossed over the road and they headed straight up towards the mountains. Now, yeah, I think that's marginally beyond my skills in terms of tracking things like that. But, you know, we're going to keep going. We're never going to give up. And the reason I wanted to check burrow systems like this, so this is an old, well, it's an active ground squirrel burrow system, and there's a colony of meerkats that use this area as well. But African wildcats often kind of like stake these areas out, pretty much what Jandre and I do. For when the little guys come back, they can try catch them. A big tree like that, this massive camel thorn tree over here, that's a classic spot for a African wildcat to lie up during the day. Caracal will do it as well to a lesser extent, but African wildcats, they love lying up in trees like this. So I'm kind of like always on the lookout when we go through areas where you get these large trees, on the off chance that we actually bump an African wildcat. You never know. You never know. And sometimes you actually, it's not so much that I'd walk here now and try to see the actual cat, but it's more trying to find evidence of African wildcats. But yeah, we're going to be right back, and just remember to keep sending those questions to #WildEarth. So what I'll be looking for here, like I say, is not just finding the actual cat. Of course, that would be first prize, but rather evidence of them having been there. So that could be feathers on a branch, a dead squirrel or an eaten squirrel up in the tree or lying on the ground, because African caracal, for an example, will actually stash kills in trees, same as leopard will do sometimes. So it's always worth keeping your eyes open for these things. Dizzy has asked, what is a caracal? And I'll draw you a picture of a caracal, because I've only got, I think, maybe at best, maybe a black and white image somewhere, but I can pull out images. But I'll draw you a picture of a caracal, and we'll come back to it on the next segment. It'll give you something to laugh at as well. But caracal, in many places, are also called lynx. It's really not the correct term for them. Lynx is actually typically an animal in the States, but you get Iberian lynx as well, so they occur through Europe and in the States and that. But a lynx tends to be a larger animal, heavier bodied animal. Caracal are gorgeous. They're this light brown, reddish color, and they got those beautiful ear tufts. But like I say, I'll show you more or less what one looks like. But yeah, I'm not seeing any obvious signs of caracal or wildcat, yeah? But we'll keep our eyes and ears to the ground, and hopefully we'll get one over the coming days. Katie has asked a great question, and very relevant to the kind of environment that we're in. Katie's just asked, do we ever get sand cats? No, we don't get sand cats here. But I love that question, because it really, you're linking the kind of habitats and the environment with species that occur in other areas, and you're making that connection. So, well, could they occur here? So very, very good question. We don't get sand cats, but yeah, I love those kind of like linking questions. It's really, really cool. Yeah, I'm not saying so. I think I'm just going to carry on ambling up the road over here, and we'll keep stopping and squizzing out to see what we can find.
Asking for a link. We've still been able to keep up with this herd. They haven't gone into the block yet, which is great news. The feeling of being in the middle of a herd of elephants is incredible. And this youngster here, see Mama? Mama's using her trunk to just push the youngster, tell it what to do. I'm not sure this is Mama, actually. I think the other one could possibly be Mother. She's got much bigger, more swollen mammary glands. But they're really looking after this youngster. Yeah, I think this one's Mum. But all the females in our herd contribute to the calf's upbringing, the calf's safety, the calf's well-being. Don't get left behind, little one. takes a long time for a young elephant to learn how to use its trunk. It's like children learning how to write or hold a pencil. Did you hear that? It was an elephant in the distance. Someone's not happy. You see, still doesn't quite know how to use its trunk. Taj, you're 10 years old and you're asking a very good but difficult question. We get asked this question a lot, not just about elephants, but also predators as well. Do they see us as part of the car, as one entity? I think so, yes. The minute we step off the car, we would become a bipedal man. I would become a primate. I would become a threat and they would react. But with the vehicle, we are part of it. But the interesting thing is, I'm just going to go forward. When you're with predators like lions and leopards, they look you in the eye. It's the most surreal feeling. And they are aware of where your eyes are to make that content. And that's what I find really, really unique. So they're not aware that it's two humans on the vehicle, but they are aware that there's a living presence on the vehicle. And they know the vehicle's not a threat. Unless an elephant's had a really bad experience with the vehicle, you're not a threat. Give them space. Don't scare them. Don't block their pathway. And they will just accept you as part of the environment. But if I was to jump off the vehicle right now, I would become an entirely different thing. I'm separating myself from the vehicle, Taj, and I would become a threat immediately. And they would all react. But it's an interesting one. There's lots of different theories on whether animals see you as part of the car. Kruger, great question. Small. It makes me feel small when an animal, any animal, looks me directly in the eye. And it reminds me that we are animals too. We're all part of this. We're all in this together. We are mammals. And it's a wonderful feeling, but it puts me in my place. It makes me feel very small, especially when it's a lion, a leopard, a cheetah, an elephant. It makes you feel very small. Animals are so important to this environment here. We couldn't survive without them. We really rely on animals. And that's why we're here, to connect you to them. Okay. I'm just going to try and get round. The herd is separated, which is normal. They're probably in constant communication with one another. We just can't hear it. There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to position. Oh, there's a little youngster. There's so many calves in this herd. Elephants are pregnant for 22 months, which is a really, really high investment. That's almost 2 years. So they really look after their young. Elephants don't just lay a clutch of eggs with no maternal care. It's a lot of investment. Young elephants can drink milk for up to 4 years as well. So being a mother is really, really important for a female elephant. And the boys will stay part of the herd until they're around 15 years old on average, a naughty teenager, and then the females start to signal to him that it's time to leave. It's time to leave the herd and start your nomadic existence, young one. I can imagine, I see you. I really do see you. Can you see the moon in the background, Ravi? Just above the elephant, we've got the gorgeous view of the moon. It's at 91.4%. It's almost full moon, everyone. It's Isn't that beautiful? It's in the waxen gibbous phase. I think in the next 2 days we're going to have a full moon. You see the angular forehead? You see that sort of 90-degree sharp corner? That's what I was referring to earlier about females. Douglas, great question, and absolutely yes. They have a main tusk, so of course they have two, and just like us, they'll either be right-tusked or left-tusks, and they'll use one more often. So how you tell which tusk they prefer is by looking at the shortest tusk. The shortest tusk will be the main one because it's worn down after being used for many, many years. So yes, Douglas, absolutely, they will have a preferred tusk. Okay, now they're heading to our northern boundary, so we're just going to try and keep up with them. But once they cross the boundary, we cannot cross. So that we might be able to give you the last views of this wonderful elephant herd. We also heard this morning that there could be a predator in this area, which is why we came here. There was some vultures, some battaliers, which could be a sign of a carcass. This is a bumpy road. So once the elephants cross out, which I think they may have already done, we will go check for that predator. Okay, I think the elephants were faster than me in the vehicle. They've gone already. Look how they blend into the background. You can't see any elephants. Just way off in the distance there, they've gone. Great big pachyderms disappearing into the bush. So I'm going to sit tight here and get ready to investigate if there's a carcass nearby.
Right, well... Sorry, we are still going through these big grasslands here and really hoping that we might come across some signs of a cheetah. Yeah, this kind of big open grassland is a perfect area for us to be searching. But there hasn't been too much around today, so we're kind of searching for a needle in a haystack right now. But it's a nice cool afternoon, and with cheetah being diurnal and hunting during the day, I'm hoping, sorry, I'm going to take this road on our right here. I'm hoping that we get lucky. But in the same breath, it's just such a beautiful area to be driving in anyway. Just have a look at these views as we come up over this ridge here. Beautiful mountains in the distance. All right, so we haven't managed to find anything just yet still. Someone was getting me on the radio just now saying that there were some tracks of some lions, so that even might not be on the cards for today. Sample? Yes, we are in South Africa. We're on the east coast of South Africa. on a game reserve called And Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. Very beautiful area, and I'm sure hopefully there are some people watching that have been here before. Oh, these views, especially in the late afternoon like this, are just so incredible. And one of the really special things about Pinder, I'm going to actually just stop just up ahead over here, just so that you can see this view around here. But one of the really special things about this reserve is just how diverse it is. And on this side of the mountains, you get these beautiful big open grasslands. And there's other areas around the reserve where you get big woodlands and forests and water holes. And we've got these beautiful views out over this valley here. And into the mountains, as I said. And this is the whole expansive area that we are going to be exploring this afternoon. The area where the rhinos were just now is almost straight ahead of us down in this valley. So we've just done a little bit of a loop back up behind us and over this ridge. And this just gives us such a great opportunity to use binoculars and scan out over this area to see what we can find this afternoon. But I'm hoping with it now starting to cool down ever so slightly, and the sun getting a little bit lower down in the sky, that some of the cats might start getting a bit more active, as I say. But we're going to carry on searching here and see what we can find.
So we just got another burrow system over here. These are Cape ground squirrels, and there's little rodent tracks up and down here as well, probably gerbils and stuff. But again, I'm just checking for any activity of predators around here. But I'm not seeing much. There's just one set of jackal tracks that had come from that direction heading across over here, but he would ignore these things unless he thought he was in for a really good chance. So doing this groundwork is really crucial, especially out in this environment. You know, it's a massive area. It's what we term a low game density area, and that's a function of the habitat. It's these really semi-arid savannas. So for us just to go out, yeah, we can bump stuff on a drive, absolutely, and that happens all the time. But if you're starting to look for more specific things, if you really want to like focus in on something, doesn't matter what species it is, you've really just got to put in a little bit of effort over there. And sometimes that also means, well, very often that'll mean actually going out between the game drives. So we'll go pack the stuff up, then come out again later and start working in the area. And the starting point is actually seeing if there's any sign of whatever you're looking for within that area. It doesn't matter whether it's a gemsbuck or a wildcat or whatever it is. Once you've determined that that animal is actually operating in that area, then you can start coming up with a plan on how to actually find it. So when you go on drives with our colleagues or out here, it's not kind of all just an absolute hits and miss. There's some kind of vague strategy behind it sometimes.
So like Dylan was saying, hit and miss, sometimes miss quickly. Seen from our drag marks this morning with the help of the trackers and some of the other rangers. We have managed to follow the drag marks that we saw in the morning. Like whatever it is that is female leopardesque, it has been taken by Hyena. So we tracked and find her. It's Nyala female. She just got up and walked across the road after spotted her on foot, and we followed her to where she's sleeping. which brings us to our next topic about how great the flash of a leopard is. And looking at where she's lying, although we know she's there, you can hardly see her. Her camouflage is just there now. You can only just see a few spots. We saw her briefly, a little bit of her face, and she moved across the road, so we think we followed her here. So it looks like a Nyala female, the territory is right, and of course with the drag marks in the morning, if the hyenas didn't get to it, we possibly would have found her with it. But right now we've only seen her to where she is sleeping now. So chances are they might stay down for a while, but the plan is to try and stick around with her for a little bit and then hoping to see if she gets up and starts moving. Yeah, from how she moved earlier and looking at her belly, the hyenas must have stolen that carcass after she had a little bit to eat. She looks like she's got quite a full belly. So right now there's not too much to point on as to talk about, except seeing the great camouflage that she has. And hopefully we stick around. Now that I'm going to stick around with her for a little while. We'll just watch and see how it goes. If we didn't follow her here, we could have driven 100 times on the road, which is literally about 100 meters to our right. But chances of spotting this leopard while she's lying down like that was almost zero. So this is why I said, like Dylan was saying, sometimes a hit and miss. Luckily, we managed to hit today, but the chances of missing were zero. So, not that much movement in the last minute or so. So I'm going to stay here and keep you updated if there is any activity or movement and see what else you can see.
We are currently searching the skies for vultures and Bateleur. No luck. But you may notice I have something additional on my car. Yes, I do. And before we take a closer look, I just want to show you the size comparison. This is from a very large elephant. And because I was talking about it earlier, I just want to show you. There we go. Look at that fresh elephant dung. Amazing. And we can touch it because it comes from a herbivore. If this was from a lion or a leopard, we would not be touching their scat. This is dung. A carnivore's scat would contain lots of parasites and nasty things inside, but this is quite safe for us to touch. And being a guide, we happen to love touching dung. I'm not going to pretend we don't. But elephants only really digest about 40% of what they eat. So the rest, the other 60%, they're not able to properly digest. And therefore, you can see, it's not really well digested. It's just grass, all the grasses that they're eating. But it becomes a really important habitat for other organisms. Spiders, ants, insects, dung beetles. There's a little ant there, Dobby. You see it? I'll get my pointer out. My porky pointer. Right here, got some ants that have been living inside the dung. Dung beetles will also lay their eggs inside dung. Becomes really, really important. It will break down, it will slowly start to biodegrade, and eventually all the nutrients will end up in the soil as part of the organic circle of life. It's incredible. So elephants are bulk feeders. They eat in bulk. So it's quantity over quality. They just eat, both in summer and winter. And therefore, they're not so great at digesting. It's all about the method of their lifestyle and saving energy and just generally being efficient. And this is what you end up with. So I am going to hurdle this off my car. I'll need to give my car a little clean now, and we're still going to keep bumbling forward looking for those vultures.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Speaking of something that vultures are going to be looking at, we have managed to find some lions. We literally drove along this road, only not even a kilometer from where I was last speaking to you, and we noticed some lion tracks and some drag marks and all the stomach contents of what looks like a wildebeest. And they've dragged it off across the road here and into the shade and completely feeding on it. They're not even, we're literally still on the road. They're just off the side of the road. So this was a real spot of luck right here. So these two that you're looking at the moment are two of the little young males that are part of Nyala pride. And there's another little young male that's busy gorging himself on what's left of this wildebeest, which we'll move ahead in a minute and we'll show you that one as well. This is such a beautiful view of one of these little male lions. Look at it. He's obviously got a fly bothering him and he's trying to catch it. Oh, big yawn as well.
This is incredible interaction. We've got two black-backed jackals was going for the bat-eared foxes. The two jackals are the ones trotting away, and the bat-eared foxes are the ones standing in the foreground there. Oh my word. It was so fast, and it was just, I don't think there was any intention at all of the jackals to actually try kill or harm the bat-eared foxes. But we actually just spotted that purely by luck from a huge distance. That's about 700 meters from us. So Jean's doing a great job on actually being able to see those animals that well from there. But yeah, I think the jackals were just on a territorial patrol and but made us beeline. Yeah. So it's four bat-eared foxes and two jackals. But they were just on a beeline trajectory for those bat-eared foxes. As we came over the dune crest, this was just playing out in front of us. I mean, how crazy and how lucky is that? Yeah, and you see now, look how relaxed the bat-eared foxes are going. They're just going to lie down, and the jackals have just moved out to the left-hand side now. That was just that's what I was talking about earlier. You know, you're always going to get these kind of little interesting cases where you're not expecting anything. It's just, there it is, and suddenly it's happening. Wow, that is brilliant to see. The glorious is just asked, are jackals smaller than the bat-eared foxes? The jackals, weight-wise, are probably at least twice as heavy as a bat-eared fox, maybe even a little bit more. But what it is, I don't know if we managed to catch that last interaction where the bat-eared fox had all its fur puffed up like that. So that makes them look larger. But no, they definitely, Jackals are definitely larger than a battered fox. Wow, wow, wow. That is so cool, huh? And just with these big, vast landscapes, these big vistas, just allow us to see that kind of interaction from a distance.
Wow, that sounded like quite an exciting moment with Dylan. I'm glad we got to send you across there very quickly. But we're back with these young male lions, and we just took that moment to reposition the vehicle a little bit and get us into a spot where we could see where the other young male was feeding off of this wildebeest. Oh, I can't believe how lucky it was to just come around the corner and see this. So it's quite tough to see. They've dragged it quite far into the bushes there, but it looks like the whole almost back side of the wildebeest is eaten already. Oh, look at this. There's some more just popping around the corner here. Marcel's just going to go over to them. So this is all 5 of the little young males. This is really cool to see, actually. All sitting together. Now there's 2 adult lionesses in this pride as well, but they must be behind these bushes, I'm guessing. Maybe still in the shade. Look at these full bellies on these little lions. My word. But it's really nice to see them this close as well. And you're really able to see that extra little fluff around the neck and on the top of their head, which is just the start of their manes growing. Ready, Ruby? That's actually a very interesting question. Yes, it does, especially a nocturnal hunter like these lions. A full moon with extra light coming out helps them to see, but then again it also helps the prey animals, whatever they're hunting, like this wildebeest, for instance, to see better as well and be able to spot them easier. But it does. There's often a lot more hunting that happens on full moons. Sorry, I've just noticed one other... Oh, wow. That one's like jumping on the carcass. Look at this. Oh, big yawn. Oh, there's lots of movement and action going on here. That one's picking up the whole leg. You can actually see that it's got the leg attached to himself there. Yes, you can imagine those sharp little claws digging into that skin. What an amazing view here. Look at this, he's dragging the whole wildebeest carcass out. I can't believe how much strength there is on a young lion like this. The strength is just incredible. He's toppling the whole thing over. Look at how close and curious these ones are coming here. Very interested in us all of a sudden. I can't believe for lions that are just over a year old, look at how big these paws are already. I mean, that paw is almost the same size as my hand. Rosalind, they definitely can. They, I don't know what the full story was this morning, but on this morning's drive, I know there was a dead hyena. I don't know if it was lions or what the story was. It was on Nyala. But lions are definitely capable of killing hyenas. They're much bigger than hyenas, especially the adults anyway. These younger ones might be a little bit tougher. But for adult lions, yeah, that would be pretty easy. Unless there's a lot of hyenas. Then the hyenas can like nip and bite, and that could could end up chasing lions away even. Sorry, there's one other cool thing I want to show you here. Look right up in the distance. There's a silhouette of a giraffe up against the sky. Sorry, we're testing Marcel quickly here. It's quite far away. That must be, sure, a good 400, 500 meters away. But also very nice to see. There's not any huge tall trees around here for him to eat, but you can see him bending right down and feeding off of some of the lower bushes. Yes, Christina, that is 100% correct. They will now stay together probably, well, definitely for the rest of their life. As long as all of them make it through to adulthood, they will stay together for the rest of their lives. And it'll be quite a formidable coalition, don't you think? Really, really strong with so many males together. They are from two different litters, from two different females. So one of them has got 3 and the other one has got 2. Making up all 5. And you can see 1 or 2 of them are slightly older. Well, you can't really see it now because they've moved slightly away. There's actually some now on the other side of us. We're completely surrounded. Oh, look, he's actually going to climb on like a dead tree, it looks like. Sorry, Marcel. Look at that. Oh, that one's biting his leg. Now it's playtime. It would be so funny if you actually had to trip and push that one completely off this tree. For cats, they're really not the most, agile and well-balanced animals. Look at that, almost losing its balance already. Compared to something like a leopard, which has amazing skills at climbing trees, these little lions have got not too many skills. Although, having said that, the females in this particular pride, in the Bahala pride, are quite well known in this area for climbing trees. There's a couple of big marula trees in this area, and they manage to get quite high up, but they're still not very good at it. They don't look elegant like a leopard. This afternoon light on them is amazing as well. This one's going to try and turn around. Oh my word, it's not going well so far. But it's also the most half-hearted and lazy playing I've ever seen. Like, lions can get quite rough when they play, but these ones are really just... This is not serious at all. Look at this. They all want to be king of the castle now. Oh, look at those claws coming out. You'll see young lions like this always have like, almost looks like holes in their skin or in their fur. And it's probably from constantly biting each other and clawing each other like that. Oh. Oh, now it's time to rest. Bee eater, these little bushes around here are called magic guarri trees. They've got very small little like wavy leaves. And those are called magic guarris. There's lots of them around here. And the reason for that is that not a lot of animals eat them. or eat the leaves. Even things like elephants don't dig them up very often. Oh, coming back out. Elephants don't dig them up very often. There are berries on them in summer, and those get eaten a lot. But there's lots of them around this area, that's for sure. There's another one coming back to the carcass now, although he's stopped in front of the car and he's exploring. But these, oh, look at this one coming out now. Okay, I think we're going to spend a little bit more time with these lions. They're starting, they're eating a little bit and then playing a bit, so let's just spend a bit more time and see what happens for the rest of the afternoon.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
So we've gone from lazy lions to one of the most ludicrously handsome antelope that we get in the whole of South Africa. This is a male Nyala. And this male Nyala is having its lunch, or late lunch rather. Beautiful antelope, very, very well camouflaged. As you can see, it's got dark fur, chocolate brown almost, with these white stripes and a white mane on its back. Incredibly well camouflaged in this thick environment that they live in. Remember, Nyalas like to eat the mixed food, so both grass and leaves. And they live in the thickest environments, so we hardly ever get to see a view like this of them out in a grassy clearing. So that's really, really great. And they're really, really beautiful. I'm sure you've seen some female Nyalas sometimes looking very, very different. They're only about half the size of these males, and they don't have horns. Of course, only the male Nyala have horns. But beautiful faces, beautiful markings. You can see still some spots on there as well. And they've got orange legs. So just a beautiful, beautiful antelope. And these are just 3 males together, so a little bachelor group. There's usually one male that follows, or not always, but often there's one male that follows the herd of females that's around this area, and these 3 males will be waiting their chance to dominate that herd. You can really see those markings on its face. Look at that. I wonder if that's to do with communication. See the white lips and spots. Also helps to break its outline. And if they sense danger, they'll stay very, very, very still. And most animals' eyes are really, really well suited to spotting danger, not necessarily well suited to seeing something staying very, very still. Wow, this one's got huge horns. This is a very, very impressive bull. Now you get to see those beautiful legs. It looks like it's wearing socks, leggings. And you see the fur that's really shaggy on its neck and belly, and then the mane on its back. It can actually erect all of this fur and make itself look way, way larger than it actually is, about 30% larger actually. So it makes it very, very intimidating to other males, and might just help it to scare off a potential predator. Let's say if a leopard was stalking this Nyala and it noticed the leopard, it could raise up its fur and put its head forward. Very intimidating. There's a question about whether Nyala are more common than kudus on Pride lands. I must say, I see more kudus than I see Nyala. Nyala like to stick in these thickets. It's not the case everywhere. In many places, Nyala are much... Oh, look at that, looking through the trees at us. That's awesome. In many places, the Nyala are more common, but I don't think here on Pride lands. I think the Nyala will stay in these thickets, these drainage line areas. So where you see it now amongst those green trees, that's where they'll stay, where the ones in the back are. Whereas kudus will often range a bit more out into the open, in the sparse bushland that we get. So what we've got here at Pride lands is a lot of mixed woodland, and there'll be more kudus there. The Nyala really like the riverine stuff. So the things that you see along these drainage lines where it's greener, that's where the Nyala's territory is. That's where they like to be. So yes, Nyala are not as common as kudu on Pride lands. Although these ones are definitely doing us a huge favor by showing us all their glory. Let's just appreciate them for a moment.
Well, actually, let me rephrase that. One of my favourite birds. A brown-hooded kingfisher in the Mawati here. I haven't been able to determine if it's male or female yet. Normally, the best way to do that is to look at the wing, the sort of shoulder area. Darby, I feel like we're being watched here. Have you ever? Oh, maybe not anymore. It's turned away. I think it's in a Nyala. Staring at us through the thicket. But yes, sorry, back to the kingfisher. You normally look at that sort of shoulder area, and I can't quite see from here if it's male or females. But it's gorgeous. I absolutely love the brown-hooded. I love kingfishers. And not all of them. Fish for fish. The name kingfisher can actually be very misleading. Only some of the kingfisher species that we get out here actually eat fish. And this individual, see it tilting its head, is looking for insects. Insectivorous. You will never find a brown-hooded kingfisher eating fish. They will be looking for insects. Tiny little reptiles. They will eat mollusks and crustaceans. Linda, I agree, so cute. They are magnificent birds, kingfishers. And they're residents, so the brown-hooded doesn't migrate. So yes, unlike the woodlands kingfisher, it doesn't migrate. You'll find this bird around all year. Oh, bless you, Darby. Now, while we're admiring this bird, I just want to give you an update. I had the pleasure of seeing a brand new hyena cub last night. We have a new addition to the Duma clan. I only saw one cub. It's a tiny little black bear, and we believe that it belongs to Corky. We need to do a lot more investigating, but I saw it last night. And therefore, I'm going to go to the hyena den. Of course I am, but I want to wait until it's a little bit later. But we now have a brand new cub. There may even be two. How exciting. But we think it's Corky's. And Michael Fleetwood, you actually suggested not so long ago that Corky was pregnant. And she looked very swollen, nipples starting to protrude. So you were right. Well done, Michael. All along, you were right. And she appears to have given birth. And I can't gauge how old the cub is, but it was with the other cubs. It was with Ribbons too. So it must be a little bit older in order to be integrating. So it's very, very exciting news for the Duma clan. And I absolutely will be heading there a little bit later on.
Leopard has not done much since the last time. She is still sleeping on the very same spot on this long grass. Tucked her head down completely. No worry in the world on her side right now. All you can see now with this beautiful Themida trianda, which is also known as the red thatching grass, that she's sleeping on. So she is camouflaged quite well. Grass is quite tall that even if she is to stand up and start moving, it will be nice to pick up movement and to keep up with her. Maybe the view will get better once you get out of this type of grass that she's lying on. Of course, grass being so tall, a little bit of trees around, even with this little bit of breeze that's blowing, the hearing is not being disturbed as much, so she looks like she's going to be putting her head down for a little while. But as indicated earlier, with a bit of hard work that our trackers have done, so as the fellow rangers, I think it's worth our while waiting around here. The waiting might take a while, but things can change in the next few minutes or so for her to get up and start moving. So while we do that, we just stick around and see And every now and again she has put her head up, but it hasn't been for extended amount of times at all. So it looks like she's still quite tired. Maybe after walking for most of the evening last night, hunt, kill something, drag it, hyena stole it from her. So she's sitting here. I'm gonna sit here for a while and I'll welcome you back. Maybe there will be some changes in the next few minutes.
So we've just come to Leopard Dam and we've found these two elephant bulls that were just heading into the water, and we stuck around hoping that they would come and swim, and they've done just exactly that. They've gone for a nice paddle in the water. Absolutely spectacular to see such large animals getting into the water and enjoying themselves. This elephant bull is one we've seen before. He's got one tusk, but he's quite an impressive bull. And there's another smaller one just behind him who's also spending some time in the dam. This is awesome to see. See how the sun is actually sort of behind us, and I'm sure this elephant can hear my voice, but it might not be able to see me very easily. So it's just listening to me. What I'm going to try and do is just move us back slightly so we can get a slightly better view of this bull. Although he seems to be coming towards us. Let's just see what he does. Just investigating. Okay. I'm going to try and move us a little bit over so we can see them slightly better. I actually just used the dam as a shortcut. Dove has asked how elephants clean their tusks. Well, we've been seeing the elephants quite often actually rubbing their tusks in the mud and then scraping them on trees and going for showers like this or baths. So that's exactly how they clean their tusks, by scraping them on things and then going into the water. It's important when you've got such big teeth to keep them nice and clean. Dental hygiene. Oh, they're going to go and rub against my favorite tree, a leadwood. If anyone remembers, I was standing underneath these two exact trees a couple of days ago, just pointing out how tall an elephant is. And I'm so glad to see that the elephant is rubbing against the tree that I was also rubbing against. Oh, it's going to reach up. Look at the... Wow, that's awesome. So the big elephant bull with his one tusk was reaching up to the leadwood to see if he could reach. I might have to just move back a little bit more. We'll see what these elephants do. Oh, they both look so beautiful. Wow. The one on the right is a fairly young bull. On the left, this bull is a lot larger. That's a good question. The question is, how long can elephants survive without drinking water? A long time. They want to drink as much as they can, but they've got a large body. So they can survive quite a few days without drinking water. They will want to drink as often as possible, up to about 200 liters for elephants this big. So, yeah, certainly they'll want to drink as much as they can. But, yeah, a few days at least. Just like us, we could probably survive a few days without drinking water. We wouldn't like it. Okay, the elephants are heading off behind us up into the forest, or I say forest, into the bushveld. What I'd like to do is just follow them a little bit and see where they go. Hopefully they'll stick around for us.
So, what do you do when you have a very full belly? You lie down and you rest. And this is exactly what these lions are doing now. There's still one, as you can see, that was feeding. But now, just have a look at the others just chilling out. I love how they rest their heads on their paws. It's so funny. Shame, this little one is being quite bothered by flies. You can see he's kind of stopped now, but he was constantly flicking his tail and like there, you see, like shaking his head. See, they're like obviously getting into his ears and just really annoying him. But You can understand why, with all the eating meat and everything. They've got excess meat all over their, and blood on their lips and their face. He even had, I noticed, a small little piece of, it looked like literally red raw meat on his paw. Look at his, on his right, like elbow, if you want to call it. There's a tiny little piece, I think it looks like a little piece of meat. So that's obviously attracting flies and just starting to bother him now. Veronica, no, I find that it's doesn't make any difference if you look at them directly in their eyes. They can definitely see that something is sitting in the vehicle, and they can see, and they make eye contact with you. But no, it's not. We aren't in a dangerous position or anything like that. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into a dangerous position, because that obviously puts us at risk and the animals at risk, and we don't want that. So we let the animals set the distance away. And when we first stopped here, they were all further back by the bushes in the shade, and slowly they have actually moved closer to us. So it's not at all a dangerous situation or anything. Actually, finally just spotted where I think one of the lionesses is, but she's in a bit of a hidden away spot behind these bushes. So we'll wait and see if she does pop out, but for now it just seems like it's these youngsters here. It's very interesting. I remember Dylan a while back was talking about the black coloration around the meerkat's eyes, and someone commented saying, or asked a question saying, is it like sunglasses? Helping to block a bit of the sun, and Dylan was saying yes, absolutely is, and that's all the theory, because now you look at like a nocturnal animal like these lions, and if you look just below that eye, they've got a beautiful little white patch, which technically, and I'm sure it does help, will reflect any light from the moon or anything like that into their eyes, which is going to give them a bit of an advantage over something like this wildebeest that they're busy eating. And I think, judging by how much they've eaten, it probably was last night that they killed it. Well, it wouldn't have been these youngsters, it would have been the lionesses, I'm sure. But yeah, as Dylan was saying back that time, it would be a very interesting section for a whole lot of research, this whole eye color, because I'm sure there'll be other theories for it as well. But for now, that's the most widely accepted theory anyway. Look at that, he's almost winking at us every now and then. The Glorious, you asking why their ears are always flinching, and it's exactly what I was saying just now about the flies. They're constantly flicking them away with their tails and by shaking their head, and even by like almost making their skin shake or shiver, which just gets the flies off. But the ears mainly, I'm sure the flies try and go into their ears, and that must be really annoying because they're super sensitive in there. So that flicking the ears like that just constantly helps to keep the flies out of them. Especially when you're a young lion like this and your ears are really big. It always amuses me with younger lions how big their ears are. This is really incredible so far. I think I'm going to sit here a little while longer and see if these little lions get up to anything else.
So The only thing that has been moving at the moment with this leopard here is the ears flinging. And on this particular leopard here at the moment, it looks like the ears has been flinging non-stop because it looks like there are quite a few flies that are bothering her. And she's been like tricking the ears to get rid of them. But we are kind of hoping for, as you can see, the ears flinging, and you see how she moves slightly and lie more on the side, is that fly can start irritating her even more, that maybe she will feel a little bit uncomfortable here and decide to get up and move off. Look, after those flies that you can see buzzing around, she's slid onto the side, but it looks like she's also stretching at the same time. That she might have had enough of this fly. Look, there's a little bit more activity there. Breathing hard has indicated that she's got a full belly. But more and more these flies do this. It looks like it's our only hope right now that might get her to get up and move. Saying that, she might get up and don't move too far at all, just find another better spot because this fly thing has just started recently. So looking at how she breathes, whatever it is before it was stolen that she killed was quite big. Maybe an impala, sub-adult to a fully grown, because her food is looking quite full, her belly is looking quite full. Look at the difference from the underneath of her jaw color-wise compared to the rest of the body on the outer side. How much more lighter the bottom of the jaw to the inside of the belly in the legs. She's looking a little bit more white, and if that whiteness was all over her body as it is, the camouflage wouldn't be as great as it is right now. So if you look at the underbelly and the bottom of the jaw, it's what shows more because there's a lot of white there. Similar thing we talked about this morning about the white line and the lack of camouflage. So the color white out here doesn't blend in with the environment as much as other colors can, which is why white is not really anyone's favorite color, or being in the bush, but hopefully they will make it work for themselves. But as for this leopard, that white is not something that will be a disadvantage, because if this leopard is up and about and moving, that's not what you see. There are some birds or some spare fowls behind us that are going crazy. Sounds like the distress calling. They might cause a little bit more movement here. She might even go as far as putting the head up just so that she understands what's happening all over around her at the time. Because as sleepy as she is, and as much as she's got a full belly, if anything right now moves on the grass, both cases she needs to know, because it could either be one of two things: danger or food. In both cases, she needs to be aware and be able to plan properly and take action. It doesn't look like that bothered her that much. So she is busy trying to chase that fly that's going into her ear every few seconds or so. But hopefully she will get irritated and she's going to get up and move. There hasn't been worse for her as yet, because when it irritates her more, you'll see her trying to turn around and try to catch that fly, which she hasn't done so far. But yeah, those ears are working overtime at this moment in time. Chance, what hunts a leopard, a technical term to that is that nothing hunts leopards. But the story behind is all predators are enemies of each other. So, of course, the predator hierarchy goes as follows. You've got lions at the very top, hyena comes second, wild dog come third because they are in the pack, one-on-one, leopards will come third, and wild dog come fourth, and cheetah out of the list of the bigger cats will be right at the bottom of that food chain. So all the other predators that are bigger than a leopard, like lions in particular or hyenas, if they see a leopard, they think in their heads, if they can kill this leopard, it means that there will be less competition for food, which is the impalas and all the things that they hunt. So if they are to get close enough and they can catch this leopard without going out of their way, they will kill it just to eliminate competition. So, but that is strictly for because they compete for the same food source. It's not like a lion will kill a leopard and eat it. The general rule when it comes to that is that meat-eating animals don't eat each other. But we've seen completely the opposite, where a lion will kill a leopard and eat the whole thing, and sometimes they do the right thing where they kill it out of competition or out of aggression, and they'll leave it alone and move on. So I hope that answered your question there, Chan. Zolo baby, not always, but at this moment in time, it doesn't look like the worst thing ever because he's still lying flat as he was. But yeah, it's sometimes to try and avoid that, because if she's slightly higher up, in particular if there's a carcass, if she's slightly higher up in a tree in the foliage of the leaves, there might be less flies up there. So she can get up and move into the tree for that, but that's not something that happens every single time she's being bothered by flies. There are so many flies out here that every time she is bothered with flies, if she is to climb the tree, she will not get time to do anything else. So she wouldn't technically be in a tree the whole time, no hunting, no marking of the territory and such things. So she still needs to do all of the above. So every now and again a flight could be a problem. But there's a chance that she might carry on staying here and just keep on twitching the ear, which doesn't take that much of her energy as she does that, and carry on sleeping here. I'm going to stay here a little bit longer. I'm interested to see which direction she's going to go from here and what she might want to do.
Okay, we've got in the far distance, Jean-Andre, in the far distance, far distance. It's a mongoose. Yeah, sorry guys, jeez. I was getting so excited there for a moment. Damn. Hey, a mongoose is still amazing. I'm not knocking the mongoose, but just to get it from this distance, he's just gone behind the bushes now. Yeah, for a moment I thought it was an African wildcat. Incredibly similar animals. One is about that long, the other one's about that long, totally different colors. But you make these mistakes every now and again. But anyway, so Jean and I, we're just moving very, very, very slowly through these open, flat areas, just cresting these dunes every now and again. And I'm still hoping for a sign of a cat out here. But you never know. You never know. Yeah. And the beauty is this time of day is when these things start moving. It's getting nice and cool now. And not just cats, aardwolf as well. I'm really keen on getting aardwolf. And these big open level areas between the dunes, what we call these dune valleys or dune streets, tend to be very good foraging grounds for aardwolf. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for them. Joy from Hong Kong has asked what kind of mongoose do I think it was. That was a yellow mongoose. But we will see more of those. That was my bad over there. It was just kind of curled up in a ball, obviously sunning itself. So just at that distance, that's probably 300 meters, 400 meters from here, I just saw like a shape sitting at the base of a bush. So I was wrong. I'm getting used to this now. But yeah, I'm going to carry on ambling along. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled for anything and everything that moves, hops, walks, crawls, flies, grows, swims, scratches, claws.
Right, welcome back here to Anbian Pender Private Game Reserve with these very special little lines. Oh, look at the stretch, look at those claws. Oh, life is tough. This is actually the same one that was lying just now, a little bit of a different spot, but he was lying and watching us just now. So he's obviously the most curious of the 5 youngsters. Very, very curious. So much yawning going on here and stretching. The sun is going to be down probably in the next 10 minutes or so, which means the temperature is going to drop. And if these lions weren't busy feeding on a wildebeest like they are, this is probably around about the time when there's going to be lots of yawning and stretching like they're doing now, but just getting themselves ready for a night out of hunting. And they actually don't dust bathe. They are quite happy lying in the dust or in the sand sometimes. They're very happy lying in there, but they don't purposefully roll in it to get that sand or anything on them like a lot of other animals and even birds do. Lions actually don't do that. But as I say, they're very much at home when they are lying in the sand or in the dust. And it doesn't bother them at all. Look at that. Now he's going to actually lick up that last little piece of meat that's stuck on his leg, probably. Time to clean up a little bit. I love how when he's wiping his nose on his leg like that, how that little nose like wrinkles up. Look at that. It's all these small little details when you're so close to lions like this that you get to see that often you don't get to see, and it's amazing to be able to share it with you over these live safaris. I mean, to see the little wrinkles on the nose when he does that. I mean, you often can't see that from far away. Kerry Lee, that's so funny that you had to say that, because when we were sitting here a few minutes ago and there were two lions yawning at the same time and I started yawning, and I actually turned and said to myself that the lion yawning is contagious. So now apparently it's contagious even through the video cameras and onto your TV. I'm gonna stop talking, and you'll actually be able to hear him licking and cleaning himself. That's how close we are. Yeah, it's a very faint sound. But these lions have got an extremely rough tongue with little, almost barbs on it. And these little barbs will help to like peel the skin away from the meat, which they often use, and obviously now it's helping to clean them really well. But it's a very, very faint sound. I love how it's just this one that's been sitting so close and he's so interested in us. Cat's got my tongue. There are particular lions that just genetically are much bigger. Sometimes you see a male lion and it's got a huge, really thick mane. Sometimes they don't have such thick manes. Male lions visually, sometimes I've noticed, are smaller than others. So every now and then, but it's more connected to the genes. It just depends where their genes are from. and how big a male lion their father was, I suppose. I think what I'm going to do now, I think we're going to leave this sighting and I'm going to carry on back up the hill. There was reports of one of the big adult male lions up on top of these mountains behind us. One of them should be the father of these. And we're going to go and see if we can possibly find them before it's too dark.
So from the largest of the social carnivores to the smallest, these are dwarf mongoose. Mongoose? What is the plural of mongoose? Mongai? I'm not sure. Does anyone else know? Remember to send your comments into #WildEarth if anyone knows the plural of mongoose. So these dwarf mongoose are sunning themselves before what is going to be a very cold night, if last night was anything to go by. They are social, as you saw, they were grooming each other. I'm sure this one's going to run off to be near its friends in a moment. Yep, there you go. So the dwarf mongoose are probably living in and around this small termite mound by this fallen knobthorn. But for now, they can be out and about. They've been out foraging the whole day. They are diurnal, meaning daytime active. At night, they'll go into the termite mound where they can be nice and warm and safe from all those larger predators. Remember, these are some of the very smallest of the carnivores that we have in southern Africa. Very similar to all sorts of other creatures found around the world, like stoats and weasels. That little twitchy nose. It's sniffing on the air and watching us as well. You can surely hear my voice, even though it's got small ears. Very, very good sense of smell and hearing. So it definitely knows that we're here. Oh, you've gone down into the grass. So they're very, very small, and they forage around in this grassy area, as you can see, very, very well camouflaged as well. In fact, completely gone. We can hear them, though. Listen up. Oh, there they are. Well done, Gert. Why do mongoose move home? Mia, you've asked that. Why do mongoose move home? That's actually a great question. Many animals will change their homes frequently because of buildup of parasites. You know, parasites spread disease, and so the mongoose do not want their cubs and the litters, or their kittens, rather. Actually, that's another question. What's the young of a mongoose called? I think it's a kit or a kitten. Anyway, we'll find that out just now. But yes, they don't want the members of the mongoose band, the family of mongoose, to get sick, so they have to move home in order to avoid diseases. But also the smell builds up. They defecate outside their dens, so other predators might start to smell them and know that they're there. And, you know, the main predators of mongoose are things like African wildcats, caracals, even leopards might catch them, so they do not want to indicate their presence more than they have to. You can just about see them behind the grass. They're frolicking and rolling about and playing. These are all the members that are still at the den. And remember, they can be in big families, sometimes more than 20 individuals. But this is just a few. Holly has asked if mongoose are similar to cats or dogs. That's a good question. They're kind of unique. They're neither cats nor dogs. They're in this sort of middle family. So the cats are Felidae, and the dogs are Canidae, and these are Viveridae. So there's something in between. They've got some features of both cats and dogs. So yeah, they're all on their own in the middle there. It's a good question, though, because, you know, many things like hyenas, for example, look a lot like dogs, but they're also not dogs. They are Hyenidae. Look at that one's actually climbing a tree. Tree climbing mongoose. Fantastic. It's beautiful to see them watching the sunset with us. Let's watch them watching the sunset.
There's been a little bit of an improvement in our flat cat. And see, she's completely lying upside down. You can start seeing more the white that I was talking about earlier on. And all of this has been caused by the progress those flies have started doing. It looks like they've been bothering her more and more, and she's changed positions like that. Looks like purposefully to try and block the ears, because on the ears that's where those flies were buzzing around until she rolled over like that. So with the way she's lying down, kind of hoping that she will start moving soon. We are seeing this flies number starting to increase every now and again, and you see her being bothered, and now and again the head gets up and the paw gets involved, but she's still lying there without doing too much except chasing those flies. So looking at how big and powerful that front paw is looking, that's about to swat a fly. And she's starting slowly but surely to look like she's getting irritated. She's trying to bite these flies as well. It's a sound that's coming from a distance of jackals, distress calling quite far away from where we are. Interesting to know what's bothering them wherever they are. It's difficult to say for sure where, but she's not responding to that sound whatsoever. I don't know if we should give her a little bit more time. Of course, there's a little bit more movement than there was earlier, but I think giving her another 5 minutes or so before we give up on her might be appropriate. And if she hasn't done anything in the next 5, maybe we'll have to cut our losses and quickly go visit our pride of lions that we had earlier on today to go see what they're up to. They might have come out of that thick bush, maybe nice in the open next to the water hole. If we're lucky, maybe we might even get to see them drinking before they head out for the afternoon. So just to be fair on this leopard, after the hard work of our fellow friends that they've done, we're giving it 5 more minutes, and after that we're going to leave her alone if that's what she wants. If that's not what she wants, she's most likely to get up and start moving, if she understands English. But just joking with that, I don't think this bothers her at all. James Richard, no, this afternoon, no. We were hoping that if we found her on a carcass that we saw a drag mark in the morning, if she managed to keep that carcass, she might have gone back to fetch the cub. So we haven't seen any signs of the cub here. Thinking that there's a good chance that the cub, she didn't get the time to go fetch the cub because the hyenas might have stolen that carcass earlier on. However, another thing that will not make her want to have a carcass here unless a cub here unless there was a carcass, she is on the western corner of a territory where a territory overlaps with the other female called Tswalu female, who happens to be slightly bigger than her. So that might also be the reason why the cub is nowhere to be found. Kasi, looking at the amount of time we sat here and seeing absolutely no movement whatsoever except the ear twitching, I would love to agree with you because the belly is quite full. So yeah, hopefully she will get out of that food coma at some stage tonight and get to move around if she doesn't do it for us now while we're still here. She's got no worry in the world right now. She's not in a rush at all to get to anywhere. So I think we've got places to go and other things to see. I think we just need to cut our losses and go see what else we can find, and hoping to find her again maybe tomorrow. Cool. Leave her alone, see what else we can find. We're gonna go check up on our prize to see who is there and who is not there.
So we are still ambling along here very, very, very slowly at a nice sedate pace. Trying to find any of the smaller mammals that are typically nocturnal. but at this time of the year they'd actually start coming out during daylight hours. African wildcats, caracal, aardwolf, porcupines, that's another one, porcupines, mustn't forget those little guys. So we also, remember what we were doing with the birds, with the pangolins and the aardvark. You see these little clumps of birds flitting up and around them. That's often a good indication that there's something there. But we'll also be looking at them in terms of, and listening for them in terms of giving alarm calls. Often those alarm calls are what gives the presence of a predator away. And it's just patience, eh? Patience and covering ground nice and slowly. The ideal way is actually just to walk. There's a wildebeest on the right. Kathy has asked, do we have camels in the Kalahari? We don't have camels, but it's very, very... Here's the wildebeest here, Jandre. Jandre was looking for the wildebeest. It is the handlebar. But we don't have camels in the Kalahari. But why I like that question is camels have actually been used in the Kalahari for a long, long time, probably for 100 years at least. Our research center on the reserve is actually an old police station. It's a converted police station. And there's been a police station on that site since the early 1900s. And it hasn't been used for 30 years as a police station. In fact, probably even a bit longer. But we use it as a research center now. But where I'm going with it, leading on from the question of the camels, is the police, they actually used to use camels in this region to do their patrols with. So it's not it's a good question. Or we're going to leave this wildebeest to carry on grazing in happy grazing grounds.
So we just came to the other side of the dam where those elephants just crossed, and we realized that the view was absolutely phenomenal. So we decided to just stop here and listen for a few minutes. And what we can hear is a lot of the red-billed buffalo weavers that we've been talking about today twittering in the tree in the background. I just wanted to enjoy the view and the sounds for a moment. Such a beautiful change from the windy past few days to have this nice clear reflection as the sun sets. It's actually very sad to see the sun setting. Although it's very beautiful, it means the cold is about to arrive. And all the animals will start to head away from this waterhole to go up the hills to where the warm air rises. So the cold air will settle in these valleys and nothing will want to be down here. Very few animals will brave these cold dips. Absolutely stunning and beautiful. Sometimes it's good to just sit and wait at waterholes and watch the sunsets. You never know what might come to you. Sometimes we rush around so much in our daily lives that we forget to take in these moments. Just sit and listen and wait and let life happen around you. It's actually very calming, very peaceful, meditative. The elephants just walked off into the distance, into the sunset, like the Wild West. Beautiful. Thank you, Pisces. It is beautiful. Absolutely stunning and breathtaking. I could sit here all afternoon, string up a hammock, and just watch the world go by. In fact, I'm going to do that. As soon as Taylor's back on these Wild Earth drives, you'll find me sunning myself and bathing in the banks of Leopard Dam. I don't know if you'll enjoy the view as much as I'm enjoying it right now. River rat, it is mesmerizing. It's like watching the flames on a campfire. Something about it just draws your eye in and you just can't look away. I think it's primal. It's something that speaks deep inside of us. It just tells us this is what we should be doing at this moment. It's like a hypnosis. You really feel all the day's troubles just wash away. Not that there is any. When you live out in the bush and you watch Wild Earth, your troubles just melt away. Doesn't get much better. The golden reflection of the sun's last rays. How often do you get to just sit and watch this? I lived in the UK for a long time, and I used to dream about African sunsets. And now I'm living them. Absolutely stunning. What are the sunsets like where you're from? Remember to send any of your pictures or comments, questions to #WildEarth. We'd love to see what you're doing where you are. We'd love to hear from you. Every now and again you can just see little bubbles popping on the surface. Those are little insects. There are lots of small insects in the water. That's what the terrapins feed on, those 4 terrapins that we saw, I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday. So they definitely feed on some of these little insects. The insects won't be very active once it gets dark, though they'll stay very, very still. The terrapins certainly won't be active. They're cold-blooded, or they say cold-blooded. They get their heat from the environment, and when they're cold, they don't move much. So they're probably also just now enjoying this beautiful liquid gold sunset. It's amazing how quick it is. Megan, you echo my sentiments exactly. This really does stir something inside. It's, human beings, we all started somewhere. We weren't always living in these fancy houses and driving cars and living in cities. It's like, brings us back to our more primitive roots, shall we say, in that we didn't always have high rises around us. Sometimes we just looked at a beautiful golden horizon. Well, we're going to watch the sunset as it slowly sinks beneath the horizon and gets darker, and just enjoy it.
Quick update from my side. I went to the hyena den. No one's there, but it could be that we just went a little bit too early. So don't worry, we're going to head back there very, very soon. And I've just popped my nose into Simbambili. Why? Because we had an update that last night 2 leopards were mating outside of Simbambili's lodge. Now, they're not entirely sure who it was, but they believe the male was Hukamuri, and I think that would make the most sense for the male to be Hukamuri, and they wondered if the female was Tiani. Now, they said Hukamuri was heading east, which means he was heading towards our side. We've checked for tracks, and it doesn't appear that he's popped himself into Djuma, so we thought we would just... There's definitely tracks here. Bear with me, everyone, there's tracks everywhere. Yeah, there's definitely male leopard tracks here. Okay, I'm just going to keep going along this... Oh, sorry, Davy, I didn't realise you were framing them up. Okay, so the male tracks have been driven over, and what that tells you is that they're not fresh, because the vehicles that have driven up and down here have covered them. Kevin, you're asking, is there really a little Yes, there are 5 little fives, but it's not, the term big five was actually a hunting term back in the day, and that's why it's not the most popular phraseology to use, the big five. And of course it's leopard, lion, elephant, rhino and buffalo. And now it's sort of evolved and it's more a tourism term. So when you talk about the big five, you do say it's what attracts the tourists to come to an area. I'm not even sure off my head I can name the little five, I'm afraid, but yes, micro and macro are both popular, and there are a little five. Now, sorry, I'm just going to pull over and see what I can do with these tracks. We don't have any more information, I'm afraid, which is slightly disappointing, but I thought it was worth it. You've got to try, you've got to take a risk, and that's why we're popping in to see if we can see signs of any leopard. But I think I'm going to do a U-turn here. It would be so good to catch up with Hukamuri. I know that many of you were worried about him, and he's absolutely fine. He's been spotted, people have spent time with him, and he's absolutely fine. He was injured, but he's healed up nicely after his battle with Moati. So we're just going to make a little loop around here, and then I am going to head back to the hyena den. We saw the little cub late last night. It was very late. It was unbelievable, and I really, really hope I can share this all with you. So we're going to head back to the hyena den. Head on back into Djuma. Okay, so I'll keep looking for tracks for leopards just now, and then hopefully we're going to get lucky with our Djuma clan.
Well, welcome to this beautiful view now up over the mountains. If you were with us about 30 minutes ago, we left the Biola Pride of Lions down in the valley below us, and we wanted to come up onto this hillside because someone had seen a big adult male lion. Now, he was lying a little bit up on our right-hand side apparently, but he's moved down into these trees just below us. And we can actually hear him eating. Now, the last few days, this male lion has been eating a zebra in this area. And he still is, but he's dragged it further down and into these bushes where we actually can't see him or can't get to him. It's quite a steep and rocky area. So, we thought we'd show you this beautiful view in the meantime. So the sun went down probably 10 minutes ago, and it's always such a nice time of the day because you start getting the colours coming up into the clouds. You can see there's a few clouds in the distance there. Not many in winter here in South Africa. But it's just such a beautiful view out over this area. And you know how when you take when you see something incredible, an amazing view of mountains or something, and you take a photo and you try and explain it afterwards, and you show someone the picture, and you always say, I promise you it is even better when you were there. And it's, I'm sure, a little bit of the same thing. It's really incredible to see it even on a screen, but to be here and to kind of feel this cool winter's evening starting is really nice. George, I'm sure the adult lions do get irritated. Yeah, they put all this effort and patience into stalking up close to something, and so often it happens that a young lion runs out too early, or like they just get bored and they start playing or something, and they end up messing up the hunt, and the wildebeest or zebra or whatever it is sees them and runs away far too early. And I'm sure they do get frustrated, but I guess it's all part of a learning curve, and as an adult lion, I guess they have to take that on, and they teach their cubs just the way their cubs watch them. Is always the best teaching. Yeah, so we can literally hear this lion chewing on like bones, and there can't be much left. I think he's been on that carcass now for about 3 days, so there really can't be much left. And I think what happened is he went to some water. We literally drove this road on the way here this afternoon and went past the water, and there was nothing there, but I think he's gone up to the water, had a drink, and gone back down to somehow eat a little bit more. But what we're going to do is I'm going to sit right here where we are now, and I'm going to see if he comes back out onto the road, which I'm really crossing fingers for. But we'll send you to carry on with your safari in the meantime.
So we left the waterhole when we heard an elephant trumpeting in the distance, and here we've come to find this young bull. Not that young, maybe somewhere in its 20s, just feeding on these sparse sickle bushes. Of course, it was trumpeting, so maybe it's not in a great mood, and it wants to be away from any company. It's heading actually towards the waterhole, so it might just head towards the waterhole, and maybe we'll follow it. We'll see how it reacts. Oh no, it seems to be stopping. It was just looking at another tasty morsel. So there's lots of elephants on Pride lands at the moment. We watch those 3 bulls crossing the water, or 2 bulls crossing the water. Now there's this other young bull who's probably actually even part of the same group. They can communicate over huge distances. They've got something called infrasound, which are sounds very, very low, too low for us to even hear, where they can communicate. It's amazing. They've got these soft pads on the bottom of their feet that are able to feel the vibrations. Next time we see some elephants out in the open, we'll try and see if we can get some footage of them lifting up their feet, and you'll see they often hang their feet in the air whilst they think about what to do, gathering information through the vibrations that come through their feet. It's very, very interesting. As you can see, this elephant is just plucking branches of all these trees, often the trees that they don't actually like to feed on that often, just because that's all they have this time of year. Caitlin, age 14, has asked if dassies are closely related to elephants. So dassies, for those of you who don't know, is a South African term for tree or rock hyraxes. So hyraxes are these little rodent-like animals that like to bound along the rocks. If any of you have ever been to Cape Town, you will see lots of dassies on Table Mountain. And yes, they actually are very, very closely related to elephants. And those things that make them closely related are tusks, for one. You can't see dassies' tusks very easily, but they do have these little incisors that poke out their mouth, especially when they get a bit older, especially the males. So just like elephants, they've got tusks. They also have very similar foot structure. Although feet look quite similar, quite different, the bones inside are quite similar. And one of the other features that makes them very similar to elephants is the fact that they've got mammaries, the milk-producing glands, between the front legs. Like elephants, dassies and elephants both have the mammaries between the front legs. Whereas most other animals, you'll see, if you have pets, cats and dogs, you'll see those mammaries where the youngsters suckle are located between the back legs and on the belly. So elephants' mammaries are on their chest, I suppose you'd call it, between their front legs. So yes, Caitlin, they are very, very closely related. It's interesting, they're so small compared to elephants, but yes, very similar. Imagine a dussie that size. That'd be a terrifying thing. Jumping along the rocks, feeding on... So dussies eat also very similar food to elephants. They can eat leaves and branches and twigs and grass also. Sometimes they have to forage in the open grass, just like this elephant is doing when it's very dry. So, another question about what is an elephant's favorite food? Well, while we watch this elephant walking away, its favorite food is whatever's the best and softest and most nutritious at that time of year. I think they love to eat soft grasses, and they certainly love to eat marula fruits. In the summertime, in the springtime, they will literally walk from marula tree to marula tree, eating dozens, if not hundreds, of marula fruits in one single feeding session. Sometimes you find their dung just basically one giant pile of marulas. So they do love fruits, all sorts of fruits. So yes, an elephant's favorite food is probably marula fruits. So this elephant is not eating its favorite, it's eating some dried grasses and twigs. But hey, you got to do what you got to do.
So talking about elephants feeding on their favorite food, the elephants here at and beyond Nyala, where we just relocated the pride we were sitting on this morning, have been giving this lion some serious hard time. They've been chasing around this pride, seeing how the lions are now standing up and moving around slightly. You can hear the elephants on the distance growling, stomach rumbling. Look at how the male lion is quickly cutting across there. The elephants are still in the area. We're also parking in a way where, if needs be, depending on what those elephants do, we want to be able to start and move off quickly, because these elephants have been harassing these lions so much. We all know how lazy lions are, how after a full belly finishing on the zebra this morning, how they could all be sleeping flat, including the one roast male who is full of mud, but they're moving around a lot now because they've been chased around with these elephants. We don't know how long this is going to take, if these elephants have now left them to stay in peace. But if those elephants come back here, you'll see how quickly these lions are going to have to get out of the way. It looks like it's the whole herd of elephants. Every now and again you hear them breaking twigs on the background, but now the lions are starting to regroup. You can see we don't have the whole pride here. We only have one of the roast male and two adult lionesses. We shot another roast male and two other lionesses that were here in the morning. So let's stick around here. It looks like things might still get exciting, or this might be the time when they start settling down. Look at how quickly the roast male has gone flat onto his side, because imagine trying to run with that full belly running away from elephants. How much that would have taken from him. So the minute these elephants kind of slowing down, he goes to rest right away, and he might want to keep that position for a long time. In his head right now, he'll be hoping hard that that torture is over from these elephants. They've gone slightly quiet. You can hear him breathing hard, like this was hard work for him running around. But it was either that, or the elephants would have dealt with him. So he must be happy that he ran off. But look at how fat that stomach is looking. So these elephants must have chased them around a lot. At this moment in time, you can see an elephant, or if you look straight, I see an elephant coming back. It's a mother with calf. Look at how the lions are getting up, including the roast males getting up quickly and wanting to get away. Remember, I mentioned this morning and say that the elephants will want to come down and have a drink, and the difficult thing for these lions to have peace if they are on the elephant's way. Where those elephants are heading, there is the rest of the pride, because here we've got only a few individuals, not the rest of the pride. But you can see how the roast male and one of the adult lionesses are not going to wait for this. They're just taking off. Listen to that. So they must be chasing all the other lions on the background where we can't see. But chances are that those lions are going to run back this way, or the elephants might come back this way. I don't want to start and drive around, end up getting in between the two. So we're going to stick around here and see if they come back. Can you hear that contact calling? Sassy Kathy, yeah, elephants do scare all animals, but mostly they will be fine with other herbivores. They might not chase them around unless there is a competition for water during things like drought. Otherwise, the biggest things that elephants have got problem with is predators, starting from lions, hyenas, all the way down to cheetahs, because they're meat eaters. And them being meat eaters, it makes a complete enemy for them. As much as they're big and lions can't technically really hunt them in this area, but they will go out of their way to try and chase lions and other predators off. So technically speaking, elephants are the true kings of the jungle. They just don't get that title because they don't kill and eat. Listen to that. Elephant trumpeting, such a beautiful sound to hear, in particular if they're quite far away from you and you are not the one that they're trying to chase at that moment in time. So it might not be as great for these lions to hear right now, for us right now, because this has got absolutely nothing to do with us. It is quite a beautiful sound to hear. Sinek, yeah, a few times I've seen elephants chasing lions around, and lions will run around and dodge them. Lions are also quite fast, but the elephants can only do it for a short space of time, and they will eventually give up, because for them it's really to try and chase lions off their way to get to do whatever they wanted to do. But they're not going out of their way, because it's not like if they get them they will benefit too much from it. Sounds Nina moo, elephant's moo, trumpeting, it's one of the few sounds that we can hear when elephants communicate, but trumpeting in particular, it's a sign of aggression that something has irritated the elephants. It happens with us if we get too close to them. It will happen with lions when now that the lions are on their way for the elephants to get down to the water, and you can hear that from a far off distance. So, and once you hear that it will be better off to try and avoid that situation. That's why we're parking here and watching these lions, but not moving much, so that we don't get onto the elephant's way. Because this is not really about us, it's about them and lions. But if you are to get ourselves in between, that could also be a dangerous thing for us, because that elephant is not happy at this moment in time. So we're losing light slowly but surely. So what we're going to do, we're going to move into infrared to still be able to see these lions without really putting any light on them. And also in the meantime, by not doing so, we're also not going to disturb the elephants not to see the lions properly. The only thing that infrared is going to do on your screen right now, we're going to be changing into the color black and white, but we'll still be able to see as much as we see without having to disturb these animals that much. So right now the activity has calmed down a bit. The lions are still sitting and looking all over around. They're sitting in an O shape, trying to see where these elephants are going to come from. But it seems like for now the elephants have moved off slightly. So what we're going to do, I'm going to stay with them a little longer and just see if those elephants come back again. And if they do, we'll sure to welcome you back to come and get some of the action.
So, still no joy on our side in terms of the specifics that I'm after. But it's just a beautiful afternoon out here. And I know I keep saying that, but I think it just gets better every single day. Certainly for me. Yeah, we're just taking in the scenery while we're up here. But I'm just scanning around. Now in the frame as I'm cruising around like this, we've seen there's a couple of eland out here, there's some gemsbuck. Shenzi has asked, there's a person after my own heart. So Shenzi has asked, can we show them the mountains one day? And that's exactly what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to show you the mountains. The challenge that we have with the mountains, unfortunately, is that we don't have, our kit is not very mobile. So we're kind of limited there. But Jandre and I have a plan. The plan is quite simple. I'm going to get Jandre just to carry everything up the mountain for me. And then we'll just spend some time up there. No, but we are definitely, jokes aside, we're gonna make a plan to get the stuff onto one of these mountains. But we've got a very, very fun thing to show you all. But I'm not going to reveal it until then. That's going to be the surprise. And it's going to be good, I promise. So you'll just have to stay tuned. Anthony, age 9, has just asked, what animal would I like to see and why? So Anthony, I love seeing any animals. I don't care what it is. It can be the smallest thing to the biggest thing. Any animal, in fact, anything out here. It doesn't matter whether it's animals, plants, insects, whatever it is. I enjoy it all. Obviously, what I'll try to... Oh, what animal would I like to be is the question. What animal... Wow. There's a question. I think like an eagle. An eagle would be good. Just because it can cover like a bit of ground, different perspective, and you can land. And I think it must just be fun. Like zooting around like that, chasing things. I know, I think, an eagle would be fun. A honey badger maybe, not because they're tough, just because I think it'll be just absolutely a total hoot, a real blast to be a honey badger, because you just cause like total mayhem. And I think that could be quite fun. Or a slug. Maybe not. No, maybe not a slug.
So it sounds like the elephants have moved off. We can still hear them on a far off distance. Lions that we have are starting to relax a little bit more, but because they were all scattered everywhere, we're starting to hear them contact calling slowly but surely. It sounds like they're trying to reunite and regroup with the rest of the members that were chased completely off away from here by these elephants. You can hear this contact call there. I'm going to keep quiet and listen to them contact call. They might go loud. That's such a beautiful sound. territorial spacing call. Often it's only the males that you hear making these sounds, but the whole pride joined up, starting from the female to the sub-adult cubs. And as they do that, the rest of the pride that were a little bit further away, that ran away from the elephants, they're coming back running to come and join the rest of the pride. So they started quite nice and early this evening, starting to roar. We're going to stick around with them. This is going to be phenomenal. They might carry on running for most of the time while we are with them here, and maybe they might call more into the evening. So while they do that, they telling all the other lions close to the area about this territory being taken, and just making sure that they avoid unnecessarily fighting. With their sound that they're making, that sounds in our own ears can be heard anything up to about 5 to 7 kilometers easily, but with lions, because they've got much more acute hearing than ours, that sounds can travel up to about 10 kilometers. So with that, if a lion is hearing these sounds and is not willing to come and challenge these guys, he will not come anywhere close to here. Oh, look at that. Surprise, surprise. The young male is back. He is here, limping as we know he does, but looking better. His belly doesn't look any full at all, so it doesn't look like he partook in the feeding of that carcass from this morning. But at least he's alive and well, which is always a great news to see. See one of the roast males giving him a little bit of a stare down there. He completely ignored that and he went down and lied down where he is. And yeah, so everybody else is coming around. So the only one we're not sure if she's back here yet or she's close by to be able to hear them and come join is the lioness with the smaller cubs. So at least the young male is here and it's nice to actually see him. The roast male looks like he is not willing to lie down and the female is growling at her. I don't know if he wants to walk across towards that young male there, because they seem to be the ones that are trying to push him away every single time they come back. Let's see what he's gonna do. Decided to lie down. I'll be very surprised if he takes more steps than he is supposed to, because right now with a full belly, running away from the elephants and now roaring, all of those stuff that he just did, just too much energy consuming for him. So he will try and rest as much as he can, because the other thing, remember from this morning, this lioness, if they get up and move, he's going to have to try and keep up, otherwise he doesn't know when next he's going to find them. So he is going to try and maximize saving energy where he can. He won't even try to go after that male right now. So let's sit around and see what else they do. Thanks, Heidi. That's another way of looking at it. So Debbie, the roaring, the elephants will be able to hear these sounds, but they won't necessarily, if it's completely out of their way and too far, they're not going to respond to this sound. So for them, this sound doesn't mean much, because it can be heard for quite a long distance. But however, this sound counts more, and it's very important for other lions in particular to actually know that there is other lions here that are occupying this area, and they're still feeling healthy and strong. So that those other lions, if they're not willing to challenge this particular pride of lions here, they mustn't even try to come this way. They will completely stay out. So the activity is dying down, but after that beautiful roar, I think they might do it again. I'm going to stick around for a little while and possibly welcome you back for one last time to hear them if they are roaring again.
Right, from one set of lions vocalizing, we still haven't seen this male lion. here on and beyond Private Game Reserve. But he's down in these bushes here somewhere, and we actually just heard him start like almost warming up his voice box. Just a very, very soft, like the beginning of a roar. But I'm really hoping that he goes into like a full-blown roar. So we're just going to spend a bit more time here and see if it happens. There's also, right down in the valley, there's some baboons alarm calling. And this morning, someone saw a lioness with 2 cubs down there. And it's actually 2 cubs that I haven't seen yet. They've only been out and about and walking around with the mother now for probably about 2 weeks, I'd say. And so they're still very young, probably under 3 months old. But with them being so young, we don't want to shine the spotlight on them. We rather wait until they're a little bit older for that. So it's not worth us going down there to try and have a look for them. But it definitely is worth a while to just stick a little while longer with this male lion. Oh, look at this. Sorry, I just want to put a red filter on the light quickly. There's a little jackal sitting in the road straight up ahead of us. I think he must have smelt. Remember, I was...
Just going to go to infrared.
Yeah? So just swapping across to the infrared light. Now remember, I was talking about this male lion having a zebra carcass here. Excuse me. That is exactly what this jackal has smelt. He smelt that there's a carcass here. And he is now waiting for that male lion to move away. And he will be in there in a flash to steal some of the last remaining scraps. We have had a day full of jackals, hey? Jackals on Tswalu, jackal here now. Now they probably, I didn't see the one at Tswalu, but I'm guessing that was probably a black-backed jackal. This one is actually different. This is called a side-striped jackal. We actually don't get too many of the black-backed jackals here. We get more of these side-striped. They do look very, very similar, but slightly different. Okay, I'm going to take the light off of him just because he's moving down towards where that lion is. And obviously if we're shining the light on the jackal, it'll make it easier for the lion to see him, and then we're putting the jackal at risk. And we don't want that. So we'll keep the light off him since he's gone close there. And we'll carry on looking at this beautiful skyline.
Okay, I'm going to cut it again.
Look at those beautiful colors in the sky now. It's getting very dark, so I'm sure you'll be able to see. I can hardly even see around us here, but the moon is about 3/4 or so full. Should be full in the next couple of days, so I think it'll probably be quite a bright night tonight. Amanda, that's actually a very interesting question, and I've never read anything about them getting a winter coat, but it is quite possible. I really am not 100% sure, to tell you the truth, but as I say, I've never heard of that happening. But I think it would probably help animals out here, especially this area where we are here. As soon as you come over here in the morning, it's, well, relatively speaking, it's warm on that side, and then as you drop down into this valley here, it gets icy cold. Like it must drop a good few degrees centigrade. Just having a quick scan here, see if that lion is out. No, it doesn't seem like this lion has still come out. So we'll spend a little bit more time here and see if he does pop out.
So yeah, there hasn't been that much activity. Look at how This Rosemale, he's gone completely flat out. The only thing that moves on his body right now is his stomach. There is a few movement on the young ones. There were white ones moving around. Most of the pride that we heard calling from further on earlier, it didn't come all the way back here. Some individual from here headed that way. So I think the white young male might be on his way to go join the rest of them up there. Look at how he's putting his nostril right onto the ground, sniffing around. Don't know if he wants to follow that scent or there is something else he's trying to get. Often when you see them putting their heads down like that, which is a little bit too young for him to do, it's when they get into a place where one of the females have urinated, wanting to do Fleeman's grimaces. But yeah, for him, he's a little bit too young to think about all of that stuff. It just looks like he was trying to figure out where the rest of them are gone. Listen to this. He started contact calling a little bit. This is how it started the last time. Contact call and went into a full row. The more he does it, I'm going to keep quiet so that you can get to hear the sound. Such a beautiful sound, eh? So this time around, it doesn't sound like the rest of them wanted to respond to anything he wants to say. The others aren't too far. They're just slightly out of sight, more to our right, more east of where we're sitting. Half the pride is still sitting with us here. And yeah, good thing, nice one that we didn't see that much this morning is the young male, just to see that he's still there and up and about. But he's also flat onto the side now, but his belly is not full. So maybe he came back either, this was the first time he came back to join them now when they row, or he could have come back later on in the day when the food was done. So possibly wasn't there in the morning. Maybe he was even with them, maybe hiding around in thick bushes after being chased by the big guys. Look at how he's lying flat onto his side, but he is not closing his eyes completely. He doesn't trust these Ross males. Still keeping an eye out to make sure he sees them when they come. Of course, he's a little bit disadvantaged with that little limp, so it will help for him to always be a step ahead. Otherwise, he can easily be cornered. So, yeah, it's getting dark. We're almost at the end of the drive. We're going to sit a little bit longer here. I'm going to sit a little bit longer here and see what unfolds. But for in case we...
Okay, well, we weren't hugely successful on the other stuff. But that there is priceless. I'm just going to keep quiet now and just enjoy this moment, just as it is. Not too shabby, eh? That's what it's about. Nothing like an African sunset. And with sunset, you really have to wait until it's completely gone over the horizon. Yeah, David says African sunsets never get old. And they don't. They really, really, really don't. also a very, very good time of day now for all our little nocturnal animals that will be starting to get going. But unfortunately the clock is against me here.
Agree 100%. African sunset never gets old. We're sitting here in a pitch darkness, and without the infrared, we wouldn't even see these lines that we're sitting with. But if you look slightly onto the horizon, you just see that beautiful sort of red light coming up. This female next to us that started roaring earlier on, she tried to start it again and nobody responded, and now she just made another sound. I don't know if she actually gonna roar again, but all the other ones have been seriously quiet right now. So if you look up in the trees from a distance, which will be difficult to see for you with this light now, on the distance there you can see that there are vultures perching up in the trees. And of course vultures came because of the kills there was in this area this morning. There is still a little bit left of the hyenas as we saw coming in, but this is a bad time for these vultures to want to go down for that. So they're most likely to spend the night in this area, and if the lines move on, the first thing in the morning, those vultures will come down if those hyena carcasses are still in the area. But look at how beautiful. You're not really seeing the light because of the color, because of the infrared, but the sunset is just beautiful from where we are, and it's getting dark by a minute. So, and it's starting to cool off again, so tonight and tomorrow morning might be quite a nice chilly morning again, but it will be well worth our while to see what these lines are going to do throughout the night, how far they're going to go. This time of the year, like the last week, these lines overnight, they've been covering distances of more than 15-20 kilometers that easily. What I don't know if it's possible tonight is to walk that far, in particular with the rosemale having their bellies as full as they are. But that might be a gap for this female if the rosemales don't want to keep up, to actually lose them again, so that if they kill something, they can actually get to it. Look at this lioness. She's looking in great condition, but her belly is not looking anywhere close to as full as the rosemales are. So for the rest of the pride, I don't think walking that distance as they usually do will be a problem. And this is a habit that they have, that at this time of the year, because of the scarceness of food and how animals have to move distances to get to water, this pride tend to cover some serious long distances overnight. So it will be interesting tomorrow morning to see how far they would have moved, and maybe we'll try and catch up with them tomorrow morning again on our sunrise drive and see. I'm gonna hold off speaking for now. This line sounds like she's gonna roar again. Did you see on the screen the young male also joined in, and he was also busy calling. He wasn't calling as loud as he can be, because as he starts calling, the rosemale flipped over into the side and called looking straight at him. There's just a tiny little bush in between the two of them, and I saw that young male's eyes slowly but surely feeling a little bit discouraged on carrying on what he's supposed to do. It's not really his place to be roaring as loud because he's not a dominant male as yet. But you saw how this Ross male has carried on calling until the young male keeps quiet, and he called a little longer than everybody else so that everybody knows who is the boss here. And right now he's keeping his eye fixed on this young male. But wasn't that a great way of saying goodnight to everyone, because we're almost at the end of our drive and see how far they're going to go overnight. Giraffe girl, between the Ross male and the young male, there's literally at least 4 meters tops. So they're not far away from each other at all. There is just that one little bush in between the two of them and a little bit of a distance there. So if the Ross male is to get up and jump 2-3 steps, he will be on top of the young male right there and then. Which I think is why the young male is not taking his eyes off this guy. There is no trust there and there is no love lost at all. So they are very, very close to each other right now. Jon Snow, a full roar, a loud roar like we hear the Ross male roaring, anything from the age of 4.5. So the young male of the Birmingham is right on the right age to be able to start roaring like that. The thing is, you can be big enough and you can have a loud roar, but a roar is about marking your territory and telling other lions that they are in your piece of land. Whereas for this young Birmingham male, he doesn't have a territory of his own yet. So when he tries to call like that, it is a direct competition to the Ross males, because they're thinking that he is now becoming competition onto their side, and that will make them even want him to leave quicker than, or make them even more aggressive towards him than they've been before, because he is starting to challenge them. So when they're young, they can imitate trying to roar with the rest of the pride, but their vocal cords aren't really fully developed as such to be as loud as the adults will be, and their lung capacity on that time is not as great. So that's why for young ones, as much as they try, they won't be as loud as the bigger guys. But once you've grown and you've developed all the vocal cords and your lung capacity is really huge and you are a dominant male, the sky is the limit. You can roar as loud as you want, as long as no one else wants to compete you. You'll be fine. You're telling other lions to stay away from your area, and that works, and just to avoid unnecessary fighting. At the same time, if you call roar as loud and somebody else feels that they need the piece of land that you are on and that they can take you on, you are telling them where you are so you can invite them to come and challenge you in that matter. So that sound, as great as it sounds, and it's a beautiful sound to hear, and as far as I'm concerned, it's possibly one of the most beautiful sounds you can hear in the bush, can be a good or a bad thing. So it's gone completely pitch black, but like I said earlier, that we're not too far from the water hole where we were with these lions this morning. We could hear water splashing every now and again behind us. What we don't know is that the elephants have finally managed to walk around to go and have a drink, but it could also be the hippos that are getting ready to go out for their evening graze. Remember this morning before we spotted that lion from the distance, which some claimed that it was a young male, which I don't disagree with. They were already back in, so they must be starting to feel hungry. And the same thing that the elephants did, the hippo is quite a big mammal. If they come out this way and have to walk through these lines to be able to get to where they're going to go graze, they might wake these lines up and chase them off their way, and then they'll start carrying on with their evening. They will go as far as they can and try and get as much grass as much as possible, and they'll disappear into the evening to go graze. So I think we have a fantastic session today. This afternoon drive was such a success, and we welcome you back tomorrow morning to try and stick with us, and maybe we'll look for the pride again and see how it goes. Good night, everybody.